Lamar has never been one to hold back. From dismantling rappers and his verses to redefining what hip-hop means in the modern era, he has consistently proven that he doesn't just make music, he makes moments. But now, the story has taken a darker, more shocking twist. Word on the streets, in industry boardrooms, and across fan forums is that Kendrick has just exposed something massive about Drake's something so explosive that it threatens to shake the very foundation of hip-hop's most powerful empire. For years, Drake's dominance seemed untouchable. He had the hits, the endorsements, the tours, and the industry connections that made him look invincible. But Kendrick Lamar, fresh off his historic $100 million tour payday, isn't just counting money, he's pulling back the curtain. Allegations are flying that Drake's rise wasn't built purely on talent, but on carefully orchestrated industry deals, secret contracts, and powerful backroom plays that most fans had no clue about. And now fans are saying one thing only: game over. When Kendrick Lamar decided to step back into the spotlight in 2024, few could have predicted just how seismic his return would be. His diss tracks weren't just entertainment, they were statements. Every bar, every line, every subliminal was meticulously aimed at shaking the very foundations of the rap game. And at the center of it all, Drake, the self-proclaimed sixth god, the man whose decade-long reign turned him into one of the most powerful names in music, suddenly standing on shaky ground. But this time, Kendrick wasn't just calling Drake out for weak bars or formulaic hits. No, this time Kendrick was hinting at something far bigger, an entire system of secret deals, industry manipulation, and behind-the-scenes favors that allegedly kept Drake at the top. Fans were quick to dissect the bars. And when Kendrick dropped hints about paper trails, favors owed, and puppets on the throne, the internet went wild. Reddit threads exploded. Twitter, or X, as it's now called, became a battlefield. Hip-hop blogs and YouTube channels began connecting dots, pulling receipts, and revisiting old rumors that had long been buried under Drake's seemingly endless string of chart-toppers. So, what exactly are these secret deals Kendrick is hinting at? Let's rewind. Drake's career trajectory has always raised eyebrows. His jump from Degrassi actor to Young Money signee was fast too fast, according to some industry insiders. Within just a few years, Drake was not only topping charts but also getting prime real estate in every award show, every streaming platform, every playlist. And while his talent is undeniable, many critics pointed out that his rise felt almost manufactured. There have long been whispers about Drake's relationship with major label executives, powerful promoters, and even streaming platform bosses. Industry insiders have suggested that Drake benefited from deals most rappers could never dream of: exclusive playlisting on Spotify and Apple Music, guaranteed radio spins, and even behind-the-scenes pressure on award committees. These are the types of deals that can make or break careers. And according to Kendrick's recent shots, Drake's empire may have been built more on contracts than creativity. One of the biggest rumors involves Drake's alleged ownership deals with streaming services. Back in 2015, when Apple Music was fighting to establish dominance, Drake became the face of the platform almost overnight. He had exclusives, first listens, and promotional campaigns plastered across the globe. What fans didn't realize, Kendrick seems to suggest, is that Drake wasn't just endorsing Apple. He was allegedly locked into a deal that guaranteed his music would dominate the algorithms. Every time a fan opened Apple Music or Drake was right there. Whether you searched for him or not, Kendrick's bars about numbers boosted in the shadows suddenly clicked for fans. Was he suggesting that Drake's streaming dominance wasn't organic at all, but carefully inflated by secret contracts? Was Drake truly the most streamed artist because the world loved him, or because the system was rigged to make him look untouchable? Another piece of the puzzle came from Kendrick's references to writing credits paid in silence. This was a dagger to Drake's long-standing ghostwriting controversy. Everyone remembers the Meek Mill beef, where reference tracks exposed that Drake didn't always pen his own verses. But Kendrick is implying something deeper, that not only did Drake rely on ghostwriters, but he also allegedly signed off on backroom deals to silence writers, paying them to stay quiet while he collected awards for work he didn't fully write. Fans began revisiting old rumors about Quentin Miller, the ghostwriter whose career was allegedly derailed after exposing his role in Drake's music. Miller himself admitted that, after the Meek Mill situation, his industry opportunities dried up, and many believed Drake's camp played a role in making sure he never got too much shine. Kendrick, bringing this up in 2024, sent shockwaves through the hip-hop community. But perhaps the most explosive angle Kendrick hinted at was the tour money trail. In one of his verses, he suggested that Drake's global dominance wasn't just about ticket sales. It was about industry-backed guarantees. Translation: some fans interpreted this as Kendrick accusing Drake of having promoters, sponsors, and even venues locked into deals that ensured he always looked like the king of the road, while other rappers had to fight for venues, sell out shows, and grind for tour money. Drake allegedly had contracts that secured him mega pays, regardless of whether demand was truly there. This hit especially hard given the recent reports of Kendrick's own $100 million tour payday money earned directly from ticket sales, not backroom guarantees. Fans started comparing the two, asking, was Kendrick flexing real organic power? While Drake was leaning on artificial industry scaffolding, the narrative started to shift. Suddenly, Drake's reputation as hip-hop's golden boy was being re-examined under a harsher light. Was his reign authentic? Or was it the product of powerful allies and secret deals? Hip-hop has always been about authenticity. Fans respect success, but they also respect the grind. And what Kendrick has tapped into is a growing suspicion that Drake never truly played the same game as everyone else. While rappers like J. Cole, Future, Travis Scott, and Kendrick himself built their legacies on raw artistry and fan loyalty, Drake's legacy may be more about business maneuvers than bars, and fans are starting to feel betrayed. Comments flooded YouTube and Instagram. Drake was never the people's champ. He was the industry's champ. Kendrick is pulling back the curtain, and now Drake looks like the Wizard of Oz. If this is true, it's game over. Drake's whole image collapses. By the end of part 1, the stage is set. Kendrick Lamar isn't just beefing with Drake, he's launching a full-on expose. And if even half of these allegations stick, it could go down as one of the biggest scandals in hip-hop history. Kendrick Lamar has never been one to shy away from uncomfortable truths. While most rappers thrive in a culture of flexing and secrecy, Kendrick has built his empire on transparency, authenticity, and an almost surgical approach to addressing the flaws in the industry. And this is exactly what makes his latest shots at Drake so devastating. Because he's not just talking about music, he's exposing the machine behind Drake's empire. The very industry deals and backroom politics that fans always suspected, but never had concrete proof of. When Kendrick began dropping lines about rappers who rent the crown but never own it, the hip-hop community immediately knew who he was pointing at. Drake's career, while massively successful, has always had whispers of being carefully engineered by executives, record labels, and hidden industry power brokers. And now Kendrick is dragging those whispers into the light. But let's rewind for a second. Drake's rise to fame wasn't just about talent. It was also about positioning. From his early days on Degrassi to his signing with Lil Wayne's Young Money, Drake was marketed as the perfect hybrid, a rapper who could sing, a singer who could rap, and someone who appealed to both hardcore hip-hop fans and mainstream pop audiences. That duality made him a goldmine, and record executives knew it. Deals were cut, doors were opened, And Drake was pushed to the forefront in ways other rappers could only dream of. And that's where Kendrick's fury comes in. Because while Drake was benefiting from carefully curated opportunities, Kendrick was clawing his way through the underground, battling for respect bar by bar, earning credibility the hard way. For Kendrick, the culture of hip-hop is sacred. It's about truth, struggle, and lyrical dominance. But for Drake, critics argue, it was about convenience, connections, and carefully managed branding. Kendrick's most pointed accusations target the industry deals Drake allegedly struck to maintain his dominance. Fans and insiders have speculated for years about backroom negotiations that guaranteed Drake radio play, playlisting advantages on platforms like Spotify and Apple Music, and favorable coverage in major media outlets. The allegations suggest that Drake wasn't just competing on talent, he was competing with the backing of an entire corporate machine designed to keep him at the top, no matter what. And when Kendrick pulled back the curtain on this, it hit the culture like a bombshell. He implied that Drake's streams, chart dominance, and even award show appearances weren't organic but rather engineered. To put it simply, Kendrick is saying Drake is a manufactured king, a star propped up by deals and politics, rather than purely by artistry and fan love. The hip-hop world exploded. On Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, fans dissected Kendrick's bars like they were clues in a murder mystery. He's talking about Drake's Apple deal. No, he's exposing his radio contracts. This is about playlist payola. Everyone had their theory. But one thing was clear. Kendrick had cracked open a conversation about the corruption of the rap game. Meanwhile, Drake's fan base pushed back. They argued that business moves are part of the game. After all, wasn't Jay-Z a master of deals? Didn't 50 Cent leverage corporate partnerships to dominate? The difference, Kendrick's supporters argued, is that those rappers owned their hustle and admitted it. Kendrick's claim is that Drake has hidden behind a veneer of authenticity while quietly signing deals that undermine the purity of competition. The tension only grew when rumors began circulating about exclusive contracts Drake allegedly held with streaming platforms. Some insiders claim that during the peak of his career, Drake had special arrangements that ensured his songs would automatically be placed at the top of playlists, giving him an unfair advantage over competitors. These rumors had circulated for years, but Kendrick's spotlight gave them new weight. Fans started pulling receipts, screenshots of playlists with multiple Drake tracks, radio rotations that seemed oddly skewed, and award shows where Drake was always mysteriously front and center. Suddenly, everything looked suspicious. Has Drake's dominance been authentic, or has it been carefully orchestrated all along? Kendrick, ever the strategist, didn't stop there. He used his verses to make a larger point about the state of hip-hop itself. By exposing Drake's alleged industry ties, he's warning fans that the culture is being manipulated by forces outside the music. He's saying this isn't just about Drake. This is about how corporations are rewriting the rules of rap. And that message hit especially hard with younger fans, many of whom already distrust the mainstream music industry. In a world where artists complain about unfair streaming payouts and label exploitation, Kendrick's words feel like confirmation of what everyone suspected: that the biggest names in the game aren't always winning because they're the best, but because they have the strongest contracts. Drake, for his part, has remained mostly silent, letting his music and his numbers do the talking. But even that silence speaks volumes. Fans interpret it as arrogance, as if Drake believes he doesn't have to answer to Kendrick's accusations because his dominance is untouchable. Others see it as strategy, a refusal to feed into Kendrick's narrative. But whether Drake responds or not, the damage is done. What makes this beef so electrifying is the clash of values it represents. On one side, you have Kendrick Lamar, the purist, the poet, the man who believes in the raw integrity of hip-hop. On the other, you have Drake, the businessman, the brand, the superstar who mastered the art of navigating corporate structures to his advantage. It's not just a lyrical battle, it's a philosophical one, and the industry is watching closely. Executives, streaming platforms, and radio programmers are all nervous. Because if Kendrick's accusations gain too much traction, fans might start demanding transparency. They might question why certain artists always dominate charts, why others get buried, and why the culture feels increasingly controlled by corporations instead of communities. As one viral tweet put it, Kendrick ain't just dissing Drake, he's dissing the whole system that made Drake possible. And that's what makes this moment historic. Kendrick isn't just trying to win a beef, he's trying to pull the rug out from under the entire machine. He's daring to expose the deals that rappers are too afraid to talk about, deals that fans aren't supposed to know exist. In doing so, he's forcing hip-hop to look in the mirror. By the end of part 2. One thing is clear, this isn't just about personal ego. It's about control, power, and the future of rap. Kendrick is telling us that the game has been rigged, and now the players and the fans have to decide what to do about it. If part 2 peeled back the curtain on how Kendrick Lamar cleverly positioned himself as the independent powerhouse while Drake leaned heavily on industry infrastructure, part 3 takes us into the deep, messy waters of secret deals, silent contracts, and the real receipts that fans have been dissecting online. Because while most casual fans see this as just a rap, beef bars for bars, subliminals for subliminals, paying attention, no, there's a bigger business game being played. A game where Drake may not be as bulletproof as he seems. Let's start with the Universal Music Group rumors. Industry insiders have long whispered that Drake's $400 million plus deal with Universal wasn't just about giving him freedom, it came with a lot of strings attached. Some speculate that the deal locked Drake into delivering certain kinds of radio-friendly hits and collaborations, essentially tethering him to being the industry's most bankable asset. That means while Kendrick Lamar has the luxury to experiment, disappear, and then re-emerge with projects like Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, Drake is under immense pressure to keep churning out commercial smashes. This is exactly why fans are re-hamstring. This is exactly why fans are calling Kendrick's $100 million tour payday the great equalizer. Because it proves that independent artistry, rooted in respect, critical acclaim, and cultural credibility, can match and even surpass the industry-backed machine. And Kendrick knows this. That's why during his latest live sets, he's been deliberately throwing in subtle jabs about authenticity. One viral clip from his performance in Houston had him saying, "You can buy the charts, but you can't buy respect." The crowd erupted and social media immediately took it as another shot at Drake. But the revelations don't stop there. Let's talk about the secret playlist deals. Multiple reports suggest Drake's dominance on platforms like Spotify and Apple Music isn't just organic hits, the result of exclusive promotional partnerships. Some leaked internal documents allegedly showed that Drake was guaranteed prime playlist placements for his releases, ensuring massive streams from day one. While other artists grind for visibility, Drake walks into every release with built-in advantages. And here's the twist: fans argue this is exactly why Drake's numbers sometimes don't match his cultural impact. For example, his album Honestly, Nevermind debuted with strong streaming numbers, but it quickly fizzled in conversation compared to Kendrick's Mr. Morale. The numbers were there, but the cultural staying power? Missing. Kendrick's work, on the other hand, sparked weeks of think pieces, debates, and analysis. Now, where does this all tie back into the game over moment? It's when Kendrick Lamar started openly mocking these behind-the-scenes deals in his bars. On one freestyle that went viral on TikTok, Kendrick spit, "Industry favors, playlists tailored, streams inflated, culture jaded." Fans immediately knew who he was referring to. Hashtags like hashtag Drake exposed and hashtag Kendrick won began trending, with users breaking down bar by bar how Kendrick has been dismantling Drake's credibility. Even some industry voices chimed in. DJ Academics, usually seen as a Drake ally, admitted during a stream that Kendrick's shots hit differently this time because it ain't about just rappies pointing out real contracts and business deals. That's what shook fans. Kendrick wasn't just throwing shade, he was pulling out receipts. But let's not forget, Drake isn't one to back down. Rumors are circulating that he has response tracks loaded up, songs where he'll not only address Kendrick's claims, but also air out some of Kendrick's own behind-the-scenes dealings. Some insiders claim Drake has dirt on how Top Dog Entertainment TDE handled certain contracts, and that Kendrick's exit from the label wasn't as clean as fans think. Drake drops that kind of intel, it could flip the narrative. Still, the optics right now. Kendrick is winning the culture war. His $100 million tour earnings aren't just money in the bank, they're a symbolic declaration of independence. He's proving you don't need industry handouts, secret deals, or streaming manipulation to dominate. And fans are eating it up. Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok are flooded with posts comparing Drake's so-called industry protection with Kendrick's raw artistic credibility. That tweet alone had over 100,000 likes within 24 hours. Ity. One viral tweet. Read, Drake got contracts. Kendrick got respect. Only one will outlast him. Meanwhile, Kendrick's fans are calling his moves historic. They're framing him as the last of a dying breed, an artist who can win with pure talent, lyrical mastery, and real-world impact. Not just industry leverage, but perhaps the most telling moment came during Kendrick's recent sit-down interview. When asked directly about his rivalry with Drake, he gave a sly smile and said, "Some people are chosen by the people. Some are chosen by the industry. Time always tells which lasts longer." That line alone set the internet ablaze. Fans saw it as Kendrick's final dagger, a subtle but devastating reminder that Drake's legacy might be tied more to secret deals and contracts than genuine cultural resonance. And that's the bigger point here. Hip-hop has always been about authenticity, about connecting the streets to the charts. When Kendrick exposes Drake's behind-the-scenes dealings, it's not just clowning him, he's questioning the very foundation of his empire. So, as the dust settles on part 3 of this saga, one thing is clear: Drake's crown isn't as secure as it once seemed. Kendrick Lamar isn't just competing with him, he's dismantling the narrative that Drake is untouchable. And if the rumors are true about what Kendrick still has in the vault, more diss tracks, more bars, and more revelations about Drake's industry ties, then we might be looking at the most seismic shift in hip-hop since Nas versus J-Z, because in this game, can only hide behind contracts and playlists for so long. Eventually, the truth comes out. And Kendrick Lamar is making sure of it. The music industry is no stranger to manipulation, but when Kendrick Lamar pulled back the curtain, fans felt like they were witnessing history unfold in real time. This wasn't just another diss track, moment, or a playful rivalry. No, this was a cultural revelation, one that reframed how audiences look at success, legacy, and the cost of power in hip-hop. And at the center of this storm was Drake, an artist who had built a career on being untouchable. Suddenly, his empire felt fragile. Suddenly, his so-called dominance didn't look as natural as fans were once led to believe. Suddenly, the whispers of industry plant turned into roars of game over. Kendrick Lamar didn't just expose Drake's secret deals, he redefined the conversation about what it means to succeed in rap. For years, Drake's catalog was celebrated, his awards stacked sky high, his streaming dominance unquestioned. But now, with Kendrick suggesting that so much of this came not from sheer artistry, but from carefully orchestrated industry maneuvers, fans were left reevaluating everything. Was Drake really the people's champ, or was he just the best marketed product in hip-hop history? And here's the kicker. The more people dug, the more smoke they found. Reports resurfaced about how Drake had major deals with platforms, like Apple Music, that prioritized his releases above everyone else's. Entire playlists built around his drops. Billboards across cities before albums even launched. Exclusive partnerships that drowned out competition. At first, these were brushed off as the perks of being at the top, but Kendrick reframed it as industry manipulation at its finest. The optics shifted instantly. Fans on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram were savage, so Drake didn't break. Records the Machine broke records for him. One post went viral with over 200K likes. Another fan wrote, "We've been calling him an industry plant for years. Kendrick just handed us the proof." And the hashtag #GameOverDrake began trending globally, sparking one of the most heated fan wars in recent rap memory. The timing couldn't have been worse for Drake. Fresh off attempts to downplay Kendrick's $100 million tour payday, he now looked defensive and petty, while Kendrick looked calculated, purposeful, and above all, real. Because Kendrick wasn't talking about charts, streaming numbers, or platinum plaques. He was talking about authenticity, the one thing hip-hop respects above all else. And by painting Drake as an industry puppet, Kendrick flipped the script. The so-called certified lover boy now looked like the certified corporate toy. But here's the wildest twist. Insiders began chiming in. Journalists, former label staff. Even anonymous sources started dropping hints that what Kendrick implied was not far from the truth. Stories about label executives pulling strings to ensure Drake's music dominated airwaves. Radio stations being pressured to spin his singles more than others. Collaborations being secured not out of mutual artistry, but out of contractual leverage. The industry wheels turned in Drake's favor at every corner, but now fans were seeing the strings for the first time. Meanwhile, at Kendrick Lamar's authenticity only grew larger than life. He didn't need to chase streams, force playlisting, or rely on backroom deals. His music lived and breathed on its own humble DNA. Alright, these weren't just hits. They were cultural statements that went viral without the machine shoving them down people's throats. Fans felt like Kendrick was giving them truth, while Drake was selling them a polished illusion. Drake tried to clap back subtly. posting cryptic captions on Instagram stories, hinting that people were jealous of his throne. But the response was icy. Comment sections filled with lines like, "Bro, Kendrick snatched your crown and showed the receipt," and "Sit down, corporate rapper." Even his loyal fanbase couldn't deny the shift in energy. The aura of invincibility that once surrounded him shattered Kendrick's move also reignited old controversies, ghostwriting accusations, suspicious award wins, and beefs where Drake always seemed to come out on top despite shaky evidence. With Kendrick pointing the finger at industry deals, everything made sense to fans in a new way. They started piecing together a puzzle that painted Drake not as a rap titan, but as the ultimate manufactured success story. And here's where things truly got nuclear. Fans began demanding transparency from streaming platforms and award shows. How much did Drake's label pay for those Billboard chart placements? How many Grammys were bought? The questions wouldn't stop. Kendrick had turned the rap game into a courtroom, and Drake was sitting at the defendant's table, with millions of fans acting as the jury. The cultural consequences were enormous. Young rappers, previously desperate to follow Drake's blueprint, now looked to Kendrick instead. His independence, his refusal to bow to corporate pressure, and his raw honesty made him the new model of success. Artists like J. Cole, Joey Bada, $, and even newcomers started echoing Kendrick's message: authenticity over industry favors. It was a tidal wave shift in energy, one that no marketing budget could fight against. Drake's empire wasn't collapsing overnight, but the cracks were undeniable. He had built his image on being untouchable. But Kendrick exposed the foundation as shaky, artificial, and reliant on secret backroom deals. And once the illusion was broken, it couldn't be repaired. The fans had seen behind the curtain, and they weren't looking away. In the end, Kendrick's message wasn't just about Drake. It was about the entire system. A system that rewards manipulation, marketing, and money over authenticity. A system where numbers can be bought, but respect cannot. By exposing Drake, Kendrick indirectly challenged every artist, every label, and every fan to ask, do you want music from the heart or music from the machine? As the dust settled, one thing became clear. Kendrick Lamar didn't just expose Drake's secret industry deals. He forced the world to confront the truth about the rap game. And in doing so, he may have permanently altered the balance of power. In hip-hop. Because when a Kendrick Lamar speaks, the culture listens. And this time, the culture screamed back in unison, game over. And there you have it. The explosive truth behind Kendrick Lamar exposes Drake's secret industry deals. Fans say game over. The rap game has never been this shaken. And with every move Kendrick makes, the walls around Drake's empire seem to crack just a little bit more. Now, it's your turn to weigh in. Do you think these revelations mark the end of Drake's dominance in hip-hop? Or will Drake clap back with something even bigger to protect his throne? One thing is clear. The culture is watching, and nothing will ever be the same again. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the drama shaking the music industry, make sure you smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another update. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading every single one. This is just the beginning. Stay tuned because the rap war is far from over. #Kendrick Lamar, #Drake, #hiphop drama, @Kendrick Lamar, @Drake, @HipHopDX, @RapTV.